Okay, we're going to be getting some practice today, graphing inverse of functions and relations. So we're going to graph the inverse of each function or relation. And we're going to graph the line of reflection, and we're going to state whether the inverse is a function or a relation. So let's take a look here. First example. You notice what I did before I even started this was I labeled all the coordinate points. We were given 4 of them. You can see they're highlighted here. I labeled them. I gave them their ordered pairs. 4, -1, 2, -2, 0, -1, and -3, -3. That's important. I end up writing them right over here. And then when we're doing the inverse of a function, remember we're swapping out our x and y's. So that's the next step I did. -3, -3 didn't really swap out to anything because it's the same value. However, when I had 0, -1, my new value is -1, 0. When I had 2, -2, my new ordered pair is -2, 2. When I had 4, -1, my new ordered pair is -1, 4. My next step is I graph these new coordinates. I'm going to do that in a different color too, so it looks, I differentiate a bit. -3, 3, that's not going to change. -1, 0, that's going to be right here. -1 is my x value, 0 is my y. -2, 2. So I'm going to go -2 up to 2 here. And then I've got -1, 4, which is going to be right here. Here's one thing I'm noticing immediately. You notice that for -1, I have 2 outputs here. I have 0 and 4. That immediately lets me know that whatever I'm dealing with here, this is not going to be a function. This is going to be a relation because functions, every input has a unique output. This input of -1 has 2 outputs, so that makes it a relation. This isn't a function. But you'll notice that I have just drawn the inverse. Now I want to draw my line of reflection. That's pretty easy. Start at my origin, and then my line of reflection is y equals x. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and so on. -1, -1, -2, -2. And then I just draw a line of reflection, just like so. So I've drawn the inverse of this relation. I've got a relation. Now my initial one was a function. My initial line was a function, but the inverse was a relation. Great. So I'm going to go to my next example. And you'll notice it's a parabola. What I ended up doing was I labeled my coordinates. Always take the time to do that. 5, 5, 4, -1, 3, -4, 2, -1, and 1, 5. I listed them right over here. I'm going to double check to make sure they're okay because all it takes is a 1 sign error and everything gets thrown off. All right, everything looks good. So I took these coordinates and I swapped them out. Up here I have my x, y. I swapped them out, y, x. Creates my inverse. And now I've got 5 new points, which I'm going to graph. I've got -4, 3. Going to go up. -4, 3. -1, 2. 5, 1. -1, 4. And then 5, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm double checking myself, making sure everything looks good. It's always good to double check. Sometimes if your values look funky, especially when you're looking at it like this, sometimes things could come out a little different. So I'm double checking. So I have -4, 3. Okay, it looks good. I've got -1, 2. Okay. I've got 1, 5. Ah, okay, that's where I went wrong. And see, that's why it's always good to check here. So I've got 5, 1, okay. Then I've got -1, 4, okay. Ah, that's where I went wrong. It's -1, +4, see? Always good to check yourself. I made a mistake there. Always good to do that. Because now this looks a lot better because now I got myself a parabola. And guess what? This new parabola that I graphed, It's a relation. It's not a function. Why? If you look at -1, it's got two outputs here. Doesn't pass the vertical line test. But hopefully what I just showed you here is a great example of why if you make one small mistake with these coordinates, it can throw everything off. I made a mistake plotting one of my ordered pairs, and everything looked really wrong. I had to go back and check it. That's why it's important to double check, and that's why I keep some of these mistakes in these videos. It gives you an opportunity to see that even the best of us can make mistakes when it comes to this. So that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of these examples. Look at your ordered pairs, right? Like as an example, I'll get you started on this one. -1, -4 would be this ordered pair right here. Then -1, -4. The inverse of that, remember, swap x and y, -4, -1. And you would do that for the rest of the points here. You do that for the rest of these graphs, and then you would plot what you got.